Welcome to Angkor Wat, the biggest religious structure according to the Guinness World Records. In this video, I will be your guide to explore this massive temple. I will show you how to navigate through it, where to take some amazing photos, and to provide you with some important context to enhance your experience. So, let's begin. First, let me guide you on how to get here. We are currently located in Siem Reap, and your hotel or hostel should have a transportation service that can bring you here. The cost of this service typically ranges from $12 to $15, which include transportation, a guide, and the visits to the main five temples, including Bayan and the Tomb Raider Temple. Yes, that place from the movie is a real one. If you opt to hire a tuk-tuk driver, they might charge you between $15 to $20 for the same tour, but without the guide. If you decide to hire a guide for this temple, it will cost you an additional $10. However, don't worry about that because that's why I'm here, to guide you. Before entering the temple, you will need to purchase a pass, just like this one. A one-day pass costs $32, and a three-day pass costs $62, which is valid for 10 days. With the three-day pass, you can visit or revisit the temples for 3 days within 10-day period. If you are interested in catching the sunrise, you will need to leave your hotel around 4 a.m. or else the standard tour starts around 9 a.m. Now that you're here, let's explore this temple together. Your tuk-tuk driver will drop you off at the entrance, and I will guide you on the trail. Don't forget to follow me, and let's enjoy this amazing experience. So after your transportation drop you off, you just go directly with this path till you get to the end. Now normally this is the bridge, but now it's closed because it's under reconstruction. So now you can take few nice pictures there and then turn to your right and continue your way till the next bridge. The second bridge is a temporary one built by the Japanese, and I think it's a nice bridge. It's a nice bridge because look at this. It's surrounded by this huge pond, and I think it's beautiful for pictures also because look at this. That reflection of trees on the water, it makes for a cool spot, great background. Take few pictures also over there, and then continue your way till the end of this bridge. Again, at the end of the stairs, I think also it's a nice spot for a few pictures with the temple as the background. So you may do that as well with a little bit of water also in the background. So the person in the center, on one side the water, and on the other side the temple. Now here let's start with a little bit of context. There are 5 doors, as you can see. One is just right next to your right, and there are 3 in front of us that we are heading to. One, the big one, the main one, facing the main bridge, because as we said, that was the original entrance. That's the main bridge. Next to it, there are two doors a bit smaller than the main one, and then there is another one on the other side. And we will talk in a minute about why there are 5 doors in this temple. But for the moment, let's talk about this one because we can see here a lot of people praying. Let's talk about what is going on here. Here next to the main door on the right, we see a huge statue. That statue is of a Hindu deity known as Vishnuji. And here people are praying and worshiping. But something interesting, if you pay attention, is that it is dressed as Buddha. Because people, when they saw this, they thought it was Buddha, even though it looked different. They thought it was just a different form of Buddha. And it's interesting when you think about it that we normally treat things that are unfamiliar to us the way we treat things that are familiar. Now, why this is important? Because this is a great introduction to understanding Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat was built as a Hindu temple in the 12th century, dedicated to the Lord Vishnu, this exact statue that we are looking at. But later on, throughout the same century, it was converted and transformed into a Buddhist temple. Now, why this is important? Because we will see a combination of both cultures mingled in the same temple. We will see a lot of artifacts like this statue that are representations of Hinduism, but also we'll see a lot of other things, including a lot of statues of Buddha that are representations of Buddhism. And this is why a lot of people like to refer to the temple as a Hindu Buddhist temple. Now let's talk about the doors and their connection with Hinduism. And why do we have five doors and what do they represent? What do they stand for? In Hinduism, the caste system has been an important part for a long time. In India, in the past, it was strictly practiced. However, in Cambodia, it was different because Buddhism was already a part of the Khmer Empire when the temple was being built. Therefore, they implemented slightly some parts of Hinduism. So the main door in the center, that's for the king and his small circle. His small circle contains religious leaders, his tutors, and also the advisors, the counselors, and those are important to the king. And the other two doors next to it are for the warriors, the merchants, and traders. And then the other last doors, the smallest ones, are for the rest. And we will see this also inside reflected in the number of floors. There are three floors. So the ground floor is for the rest, and the second floor is for the warriors, the merchants, the traders, etc. And then the top floor, the third one, is only for the king and his small circle. So in Hinduism, normally the caste system contains, in some sense, four levels. The highest one is Brahmins, which are the priests and the scholars, followed by the Kshatriyas, which are the warriors, then followed by Vaishyas, which are the merchants and traders, and then the Shudras, and these are the laborers and the servants. And below this, what used to be called the untouchables, these people were not even considered a level. So, in some sense, they were not even considered humans. It was a long time ago in India. Um, but yeah, that was never practiced in Cambodia because Cambodia religious scene has always been different. Something I would like you to see here is symmetry. Now, one of the most fascinating thing about the temple is the perfect symmetry, which means whatever you see on the right, you will have an identical, perfect copy on the left. So, for example, look at the doors here, same design, same distance, same design. The same with here, we have these animals. I will explain to you a little bit about why do we have these animals and what do these animals stand for. But before that, let me continue about symmetry. You see the towers of the Angkor Wat, the famous three towers that are on the flag. And by the way, that is what is on the flag of Cambodia if you never paid attention. It's that temple, the Angkor Wat temple, the three towers, but there are actually five. We will see it from a different angle and you will be able to see the other two that are behind because there are actually one in the center, two in the front, and two behind. And so when we see them from a direct angle, we see just the two in the front, but the two behind are kind of hidden. But there are actually five, but in total, there are 12 towers, but most of them are destroyed. These five are well renovated, and so these are the main ones. And so symmetry is an important thing. If you see two buildings on your right and the other one on the left, and you go visit one, there is no need to visit the other one unless if you want to, because whatever you see in that one on the right, it will be exactly the same on the left. So we will visit this library. This is used to be a library here, and we visit this one on the left, but it is identical the other one on the right. So this symmetry, among other things, is what makes this temple so beautiful, so unique, and this is why millions of people, literally over 2 million people yearly, come to visit the temple. Some brief history about the temple while we explore it. So, what is Angkor Wat? What is the history of this temple? What you need to know first is Angkor Wat is crowned by Guinness World Records as the biggest religious structure or building in the world. It is the biggest religious structure. And fun fact, Cambodia's flag is the only flag in the world that has a building on it. So now you know that the building is Angkor Wat. And so Angkor Wat, as we said, was built mainly as a Hindu temple for the god Vishnu in the 12th century by King Suryavarnam II. If you were wondering what is the meaning of Angkor Wat is a Khmer word. Khmer is the official language of Cambodia and the largest spoken language within the country. And it means temple city or city of temples. And so that's why Siem Reap today it's still known as the city of temples because it's known for temples. As we said, 4,000 temples. Okay, let's take a pause from the explanation for a second and let's go take a picture in one of the best spots within the temple. So here on your right hand, you just go with this path, and probably you've seen this iconic image with the reflection of Angkor Wat in the water. So there is this pond, and behind it, as you can see, the towers, very iconic spots. And also from this angle, I guess you can see that now there are more than 3 towers. Now you can see the other 2 that are behind. So now we can see 5. So here, take your time, take pictures, try to include the reflection, take the pictures vertical, horizontal. I think this is one of the best spots where you can take pictures with the monument and also just of the monument of itself. Look at this, look at this. Probably this will be the thumbnail of the video. Stunning, stunning. I love this one. Okay, so after you're done taking pictures, just get back to the main bridge so we continue our way inside the temple. And on our way, let me talk to you a little bit about the animals. You've probably seen this giant serpent-like animal, the lions. Let's talk about these and what they stand for. So normally you would see this a lot in East Asia, but also sometimes here in Southeast Asia at the entrance of a temple, and also sometimes in important places like palaces, you will see animals. And these animals, depending on the religion and the country, they have different meanings, but let's talk about these 2. We have lions and we have this serpent-like creature. So lions are believed to have the power to ward off evil spirits and protect the people and places they guard. So all these animals in these temples normally work as guardians. They guard the temple. So if you pay attention to the lions here, you will notice that one lion on one side will have their mouth open while the other will have their mouth closed. And each one represents something. So the one with the mouth open represents the sound ah, and the other one with the mouth closed represent the sound And in Chinese and in Japanese culture, it is the sound kind of om, similar to the Hindu one of which believed to be a sacred sound symbolizing the universe or the sound of the universe or the sound of the beginning. And so lions in Hindu mythology, they are often associated with the Hindu god Vishnu and is seen as a symbol of power and strength. We can even sometimes see Vishnu depicted in some images riding a lion or having a lion as a mount. In Buddhist mythology, a lion is also seen as a symbol of strength and is often used to represent Buddha's teachings. Whereas the serpent-like creature in Hinduism is associated with the god Shiva, who is sometimes depicted with a serpent around his neck. In Buddhist mythology, the serpent-like creature known as Naga is often seen as a guardian of Buddha's teachings and is believed to possess supernatural powers. The same, if you go to Japan and other countries, you will notice that in the entrance of temples, you will have either a fox, a dragon, or sometimes massive human-like creatures, and they all work as guardians. Okay, so now we are officially inside the main temple. And as you can see, it's a little bit crowded. Just expect this because now we are in low season and there are a lot of people. So people are always here. But the thing about this temple, it's massive. And there is no order. You can go to any place you want. You take your time. There is no time limits. So the best spot to take pictures is, look at this, for example. There is nobody over there. So you go there. There is no, oh, you should start here and finish there. You see a spot with no people, you go there, take some nice pictures, and then continue your way. So we'll go here and we will find this very interesting wall. So let me tell you a little bit about this wall. This wall here is another example of the things remaining from Hinduism. As we said before, this temple was built by Hindus. So here what we have is the story of Lord Rama, or Ramji as known in India. There is Ramayana, a very important book, a holy book considered by Hindus. So let me tell you briefly about the story. So the story of Lord Ram, also known as Ramayana, as we said, as a holy book of Hindus today, tells the tale of a prince named Rama who is exiled from his kingdom along with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshman. So during the exile, Sita is kidnapped by the demon king Ravana, who takes her to his kingdom in Sri Lanka. Rama, with the help of an army of monkeys led by the monkey god Hanuman, sets out to rescue Sita and defeat Ravan. After a long and epic battle, so beautiful when you read that, when you read the story. For those interested, I advise you to read the story. After a long and epic battle, Ram is victorious and rescues his wife Sita. Then they return to their kingdom of Ayodhya, where Ram ascends to the throne as king. That's why in India they celebrate Diwali. Diwali is an important celebration. So Diwali is a celebration of the return of Lord Ramji. And so the story of Lord Ram is deeply symbolic. It has many layers of meaning. It's normally about the triumph of good over evil, the importance of duty, honor, and sacrifice. And so these cravings on this wall is a way of honoring and celebrating the importance of the story and its significance in Hindu culture. So today Angkor Wat is not treated as an actual Buddhist temple, because today people don't worship there. They built other temples, monasteries next to it where people actually and devoutly pray there. So normally that's not for tourists, but this became very touristy, so it's not that religious anymore. But the top floor is still treated with a little bit of religious sentiments. And that's why when you want to go up there, you will be required to remove your hat as a show of respect. And also you should be dressed properly, so you should not have anything that's very short, very revealing, as if you are entering an actual temple. So this is only for the top floor. For the rest of the temple, I think it's very okay to be dressed anyway. But I mean, generally it's recommended, since you are going to a temple, to be respectful generally. While we are exploring this massive and beautiful temple, let me briefly tell you a little bit about Hinduism and Buddhism. So Hinduism is one of the oldest and most diverse religions in the world. Some people even consider it to be the oldest, with hundreds of millions of followers around the world, mainly in India and Nepal. It is the third largest religion after Christianity and Islam. And Hinduism is characterized by its rich mythology, diverse array of practices, and complex philosophical traditions. However, the core of Hinduism is the belief in the existence of a supreme being, or Brahman, which is seen as an all pervading force that exists within all things. Some of the main deities widely worshipped by Hindus include Brahmaji, Vishnuji, Shivaji, Ramji, and others. If we were to summarize Hinduism, even though it's very complex and remotely impossible, but the main practice of Hinduism, the most important one, or one of the most important ones, is the importance of karma. which is the idea that our actions have consequences that determine our future and incarnation. And the goal of every Hindu is to achieve moksha, or liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. And how to do that? By living a life of moral and spiritual purity. Hinduism includes a wide variety of practices and traditions, including yoga, meditation, devotional singing, and pilgrimage. So that's a summary of Hinduism, but as I said, it's extremely complex and multifaceted religion, and it reflects, the diversity of the Indian subcontinent and its people. When it comes to Buddhism, Buddhism is one of the world's major religions, and it's based on the teachings of Buddha. And Buddha, the word Buddha means the enlightened one. The Buddha was born in ancient India about 2,500 years ago, and his teachings have since spread throughout Asia and the rest of the world. And Buddha's teachings are often summarized in what are known as the Four Noble Truths. And these are: one, the truth of suffering, which means life is full of suffering, dissatisfaction, and impermanence. Number two, the truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is our attachment and craving for things that are impermanent. Number three, the truth of the end of suffering. It is possible to end suffering by letting go of attachment and craving. And four, the truth of the path to the end of suffering. The Noble Eightfold Path is a set of practices that can lead to the end of suffering, which means there is 8 practices that can lead to the end of suffering, but we will not get into it because this is just a brief introduction to Buddhism. But yeah, these are the main teachings of Buddhism. These are four noble truths. In addition to Buddhism emphasizes the importance of compassion and loving kindness, and encourages its followers to cultivate these qualities towards all beings. When you look at the statues of Buddha in this temple, you may have two questions. One, do these different postures and hand gestures have different meanings? And second, you may be wondering why a lot of these statues have no head. When I'll get to this one later about the head, but let me start first with the different postures. Well, the answer is yes. These different postures, or mudras as they are known, have importance in Buddhist arts and iconography. So the different hand gestures convey different meanings and qualities. For example, the gesture that shows Buddha with both hands resting on his lap, with the right hand on top of the left, represents meditation and introspection, and is often used to symbolize the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness and mental discipline. Whereas the other gesture, for example, that shows Buddha with his right hand raised and the palm facing outward while the left hand rests on his lap, this mudra represents compassion and generosity and is often used to symbolize Buddha's ability to grant blessings and bestow gifts. So these two are just an example, but as I said, there are tons of them and all have meanings and all have importance. Now let's move to the next one. The next one actually is quite serious and a little bit sad because we'll step into the dark history of Cambodia, which is the Khmer Rouge genocide. So the Khmer Rouge was a communist political group and military organization that seized power in Cambodia in 1975 and ruled the country for 4 years until 1979. And so the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, aimed to create a classless agrarian society and sought to eliminate all perceived enemies of the revolution, including intellectuals, professionals, members of ethnic and religious minorities, teachers, doctors, journalists, In some sense, literally, all those who were able to read and write properly kind of posed a threat to to the revolution. Therefore, they had to be eliminated. And to understand how gruesome it was and why it is a dark part of the history of Cambodia, and you should be careful when you speak with Cambodians about this because it's sensitive and it's still painful to the majority, as most people lost relatives and loved ones. At that time, in the 70s in Cambodia, the population of Cambodia was 8 million people. And this Khmer Rouge genocide killed about 2 million people. That's quarter of the population in 4 years. And so, how is this connected to the temple? Well, for two things. One is that they opposed religion. They wanted they wanted to secularize the country. Therefore, they destroyed all the temples. And so Angkor Wat went through significant damage because of that. That's why you see a lot of Buddha statues without a head. So that's partially because of theft, as a lot of them they couldn't take the whole statue because it's heavy, but the head was more kind of valuable, and so they sold it to outsiders, several countries, several entities outside of Cambodia, and also it was part of destroying the statue because when we see how the Khmer Rouge treated the religious people, especially Buddhists, since it was the and it's still the religion of the majority, they were all forced labor. They were all forced to labor. Under the Khmer Rouge regime, Cambodia underwent a radical change that included forced relocation of the urban population to rural areas, forced labor, and the abolition of money, markets, and private property. The regime also implemented brutal policies that included torture, mass executions, and genocide. And that's why the population shrank from 8 million to 6 million during 4 years. Many of those who died were executed or died from starvation, diseases, or overworked in labor camps. And the Khmer Rouge was eventually overthrown in 1979 by Vietnamese forces, but still continued to operate as a guerrilla army in Cambodia until the late 90s. In recent years, however, the Khmer Rouge leaders have been tried and convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity by international tribunals. If you are interested to know a little bit more about the Khmer Rouge, but you are lazy to read some books, there is a movie directed by Angelina Jolie called First They Killed My Father, filmed here in Cambodia. The actors are Cambodians, and I think it was well done because it was not gruesome, it was not very hard to watch, but at the same time, you get the gist. You understand that it was extremely tough 4 years for Cambodians. So if you are interested, you're advised to watch First They Killed My Father. Well, that's it for this guide. Thank you so much if you make it to here. I really hope that that was informative and that you learned something valuable. So at this moment, you just leave the temple. There are two options. Either you go the same way that you came from. So we go this way, you turn left and you go back to the main bridge. Or you can also go and buy something traditional from these artisans over there. So I went and I bought two t-shirts with the Angkor Wat temple printed on them. I think they look very nice. So if you want to support these people, for those who may not know, Siem Reap rely mainly on tourism. Even in Cambodia, generally, tourism is the second major source of revenue after textile. So locals rely on tourism. So if you're not traveling on a budget, if you have few dollars to spare, support these people, buy something. I think they have some really nice stuff, some paintings and clothes, etc. But if you cannot, that's absolutely okay. Thank you so much and have a great day. And let me know what do you think about my t-shirt that I bought. Bonito. So that's it for this vlog. If you like it, please follow. Appreciate it. Take care.